Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story, and today we're going to be doing some seed beading, and I'm going to show you how to make this very simple beginner level modified right angle weave. And this is sometimes referred to as MRAW, and this is actually something that gets used in geometric beadwork, and probably most recently, this has been seen in the books Contemporary Geometric Beadwork, but I've actually been doing this little stitch for quite a while now, probably back into the 90s, and it probably didn't have a name before now, but so many of the designers, they have these wonderful big designs, but I know sometimes it's hard to get started in seed beading and have some nice small projects to work on. So this is one that'll teach you this basic technique. We're going to add an extra row on the outside, which is our little drop beads that you see out there. And this is just going to basically walk you through a simple pattern. I'm going to be doing this for the video in the pink and brown and bronze. Okay, and the other thing I did with this particular design was use some cymbals for the first time. So these little end pieces work really well, and you can see it looks a little bit different on the end than wire guardians. And the reason I wanted to use it in this design was just the direction that was easiest to apply these into. So you can see these ones here are a little bit different. There's all sorts of different kinds of cymbals that are made for super duos, for size 8 beads, and for tilas. So this might be a new component for you to become familiar with. And then I've used a 3-hole connector on the end, and you see this is just a slide clasp that slides in. And this one that is bronze I like a lot, because the antique bronze, because this actually has a magnet inside. So you can see it on the end there. So that makes it open and close to get it on and off your wrist faster. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start this weave, I wanted to keep things really simple and just keep it in a couple different colors. Nice, bright, contrasting colors so you can see it well. And over here I've got size 8 beads. These are size 11s. And these are Miyuki drop beads in a 3.4 millimeter size. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start with that. And what I'm gonna do, you can see that I've threaded my needle already. I like a nice long thread. You don't have to do that. I just don't like to change threads very often. So I'm gonna pick up an 8, an 11, an 8, don't like that one, and an 11, okay? And the first thing we're gonna do is just come around. I'm gonna pull this all the way down. You'll see I have a really long thread. Okay, leave about 8 to 12 inches at the start. And I want to leave a pretty good amount at the start so that I can just use that string to put my clasps on when I get to the end, because I'm hoping that this long string that I'm using is gonna allow me to just finish the whole thing in one fell swoop. Okay, so I'm going back through the 8. So you see my tail's coming out this way, and I'm going through the 8 this way. And this is gonna pull this into a right angle weave. Okay, so can you see there? And on your tutorial, I've given you an illustration of what a continuous right angle weave would actually look like. Okay, so since we got 1, 2, 3, 4, for this next right angle weave that's going to be beside it, normally we would probably come down through here, through this 11, and do 1, 2, 3. But we're going to do a modified right angle weave. So that means we're going to pick up an extra bead in this. So I'm going to pick up an 11 first, and then an 8, 11, and an 8. So these last 3 are the part of the right angle weave, and this first one I picked up are because it's modified. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, Now you can see my thread is coming out my first bead, so that's the top. I'm going to go through this right hand side, my working side, and just pop up through this size 11 seed bead that's on the right hand side of it. Okay, so looks a little weird. You do have to kind of straighten it out so that you can see that that 8 is standing up to the top. Okay, so that 8 needs to be on the top. And then you see this extra one that we put in between here. Okay, so I'm going to kind of remedy that right away. And what I'm going to do is come back through this size 8 bead, but I'm going to skip this 11. So this first 11 that I picked up, I'm skipping that, and I'm just passing through this size 8 bead. Okay, see that? I know I had it turned around there in a different direction, but just so you can see me passing through it. Okay. And that's gonna kind of lock these into place. So you can see our right angle weave here, and then our second one here, and then this bead in between is extra. Now, in order to make this a pretty piece of jewelry, instead of just going along and making a modified right angle weave, the next step just really purely has to do with aesthetics, okay? We're gonna be doing this on every other row, not every row. And so what I'm gonna do is I wanna get down here, and I wanna be able to add one of these little drop beads into here, okay? And that's gonna create a pretty outer edge for us, is basically all it does. It's not really part of the modified right angle weave. It's just a flourish on the outside edge, okay? So in order to get down there, I need to come through this size 11 bead, through this 8 bead. It would be easier for me to flip it around, but since I'm showing you in a video, I will try not to do that. Y'all make things so difficult for me. Okay, so now we're down here. I can pick up the drop bead, which I've got one right here, okay? And then what I wanna do is come back up through the 8 that's over here. So see, I'm kind of sitting between two 8s. I'm gonna come back up through the 8 over here, and then back up through the 11 that's above it. And I'm really back at my starting point at that point. Okay. Hopefully I can keep my thread from knotting up. Always hardest at the beginning. Okay. So you can see that right there. See, our drop is now part of our configuration. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to shoot over 1, 2, 3, because I want to get back to where I was of building my modified right angle weave. Okay. So I'm gonna pick this back up. And again, I would not hold it this way normally, but since I'm trying to show you on camera. But for you, feel free to, you know, pick your beadwork up and move it around however you need to. Okay, so now I'm back at my starting point. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, my first right angle weave. 1, 2, 3, that was the second one I added on, and now we're going to do the same thing again. So I'm going to be picking up a size 11 bead. This is my modification, or my modified bead, and then I'm going to do an 8, an 11, and an 8, and these are all part of the right angle weave. Okay, so come back up through here. By the way, just to mention this as you're first starting this out, you know, you don't have to yank this with a massive amount of tension, okay? Just you can see I yank it firmly, okay? And then leave well enough alone. You do not have to pull the string to within an inch of its life. It's not gonna benefit you. It's probably gonna cinch up the piece too much, and perhaps not look right. Okay, so now we added our third right angle weave. Again, here's our modified bead up at the top, so we want to skip that, and we want to pass through our size 8 that's beside it. Okay, and that's going to help us leave that modified bead alone up at the top when we add a segment of right angle weave. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing again. So I want to pick up an 11, I want to pick up an 8 for my top row. Sorry, the 8 is for my, I'm picking up an 11 for my modified portion. I'm picking up an 8, an 11, and an 8 for my right angle weave section. I'm passing up through this 11. It's the 11 that's on the working side of the work. Okay, and even still, you see sometimes I nudge that 8 up to the top just to remind myself that the 8s are at the top. Okay, so now that was us adding 2 more of these modified right angle weaves. So again, I want to come down and pass down through. If I was growing this, I would still be passing through this 8. So I'm going to go ahead and pass through this 8. You pretty much do that every step, no matter what. Okay, pass through that 8. And then this time we're on the step where we want to add our little flourish to the bottom. Again, that's not part of the, that's just for aesthetics, but we need to do it. So I'm going to come down here through the 11 and the 8. I'll pick up another drop bead, come back up through this 8, through this 11, and then we're going to cross over through the 8, 11, and 8. Okay, all back again. So let me shoot down through these 2. Sorry, I have some little bead bins sitting on my table here, and my string was going to get caught on them, so let's not have that happen. I'll push them out of the way. Okay, so you see I'm down here at the lower 8s. I'm going to pick up another drop bead. I'm going to come back through the 8 that's beside it, up through the 11 that's above it. These are all part of my right angle weave. I'll pull my thread through. Okay, and then I'm going to shoot back across the top. So I'm not going to go through this modified 11. I'm going to start with the 8, the 11, and the 8, and I'm going to shoot over so that I can start another modified right angle weave segment. Really hard to get your needle in when you're working upside down. Okay, see that? Okay, so we're back, back to where we started from again. We're going to start a modified right angle weave. So here's our 11 for a modified portion. 8, 11, and 8. Come back up through our 11. So that's one of those that we need. This is the last time I'm going to do this, and then we're going to go off on our own and get a little further. Okay, so because this is modified, we're going to skip this 11 at the top and pass through this 8. Okay, and then I'm going to add another modified right angle weave. So I've got my 11, which is my modified bead, 8, 11, and 8. Okay, and I'm going to pop back up through this 11. Okay, and again, skip the modified bead at the top, the 11, skip the 11, and just pass through the 8. Okay, so that was 2, once again, 2 modified right angle weave sections that we added. And then I'm going to shoot down. You can see I've been skipping every other one. So you see how I skipped a drop here. I have a drop, so I skipped a drop, now I need a drop. And that's how you can look at that to kind of see where you're at. Okay, so I'm coming down through my 11. Do these individually this time. Down through the 8. Okay, pick up a drop bead. Yeah, you can still see it on the screen there. Okay, pick up a drop bead and come back over to this 8 that's over here. Back up the side of that right angle weave just through the 11. Okay, and then we're going to shoot back across the top. Again, you never want to pass into the 11 at the top. You're always passing through the 8. Okay, so I'm going to shoot back through the 8, the 11, and the 8, and I'll be ready to add 2 more modified right angle weaves. If I can get through here with my hands backwards. Okay, so shoot through all 3 of those. Okay, so that's all there is to the very first row. We're just on the very first row. We want to make this to the length that we're going to need for our bracelet. There is a size chart in your tutorial. It is an approximation, it's not perfect, so you know, put it on your wrist, see what you really think about the sizing of it. And remember that we are putting little end pieces on, and then some jump rings and a clasp. Okay, so allow that extra room. So if it seems a little short, that may be the reason. And let's just go ahead and make this row that we're doing just as long as we need it to be, and then I will come back and we'll do some more. Okay, so I finally reached the end. You can see I have this at the full length that I want it. Okay, so that's row 1 that we just finished up. And then we're gonna start row 2 now, and what we're gonna do is, this is now our center row, and we're going to come back across working this way, okay? So I may flip it over, but I wanted you to see that here's all our drops down on this side. This is our central row, okay? And we're gonna start working off that central row, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to pick up a seed bead, a size 8, and a seed bead, okay? And I'm going to, on the first one, we're not really making a right angle weave. We're actually just tucking in here into this, it would be the second 8 in the row. Okay, so that's the only one that's going to be a little weird like that, is just row 1, or you know, step 1 of this row. Okay, so you can see we got 3. I want to have 2 11s on the end, so you can see the pink 11s, and now you can see that I've got 3 of the 8s in a row, and then here's the other 11 that's going to be on the side. Okay, so now that I've got that, to do our next row, so you can see I kind of have, here, I'll flip this over so you can maybe see. So the central row, this would be the top of the right angle weave, okay? And this is going to be the left-hand side of the right angle weave now. So what I want to do is I want to pick up an 11, which will go over here, and an 8. Okay, so from now on, we're just picking up 2 beads. We already have our modified bead in the center row. No need to do that again. Okay. Okay, so you can see now that we've got 2 of these right angle weaves in a row. Okay, so on this first one that we add, we're going to go ahead and come back through. Okay, So I'm gonna come through here. I'm gonna keep going to my right. Keep going around that right angle weave through that center. Okay, and then this is gonna allow me to dip down into this 11 and this 8 that are really above it, but I'll say below it. Okay. So just so you can see it in order of the way we made it. Okay, so now of course you know what we're gonna do is pick up another drop bead. Okay, and I'm gonna pass it through. Pass through the 8, which was the first 8 of this row that I put on. And then I'm gonna pass up through the 11. Okay, and when I get to the center row, I'm gonna go through an 8, an 11, an 8, an 11, and an 8. Okay, so 5 beads. So from here on out, you'll be kind of going past where you want to be working and coming back around with your right angle weaves. Okay. So now, and the other thing you can see is this drop bead mimics the one on the other side. Okay, so we're just filling in the opposite side of this bracelet. Okay, so let's just do this another time. So I'm going to pick up an 11, I'm going to pick up an 8. We're going to come back up through this previous right angle weave, through the 11, which is a sideways bead. And pull our thread through. Now I'm going to turn this. Okay, so I passed up through the 11, and then I want to pass through the 8. So I'm skipping that modified bead again, the 11 and the 8. So even though we're on a new side, we want to, you know, keep repeating that skipping of the modified bead that's in there. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up an 11 and an 8. And I'm going to pass back up through this 11. That's the sideways one. And then I'm going to pass through the 8. That's right here. Okay. And then here's where we want to add our drop. Okay, so we'll go down through the 11 that's right here, the sideways 11. I'm going to pass through the 8. I'm going to pick up my drop, pass through the 8 that's beside this one. Okay, and you can see we got our next drop on. I'm coming out this 8 right here, so I'm going to come back up through this 11. And then I can pass through the 8, the 11, the 8, and the 11, and the 8, so that I am back back to where I need to be to start my next right angle weave. Okay, so that's all there is to this other side. You know, you're basically mimicking exactly what you were doing on the first side. It's just that you already have this center row in place, so you don't have to pick up quite so many beads, but we're just coming around, making right angle weaves. The drops go between every other row, okay? And I want you to just keep building this all the way down the band, okay? And when we're complete, I'll come back and then we're going to go ahead and do the ends on this, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so as you can see, I've finished my length, okay, and I've actually added a needle to the starting thread. I actually think I have enough to do this end, so I'll probably end up on my working thread shooting up the entire bracelet and going ahead and finishing there. But I just want to show you how to put these cymbals on. So I'm using the cymbals. A lot of times I use wire guardians, and I like wire guardians when they're crossing out, they're crossing two beads. So let's say I didn't have this 11 here, and I was just connecting these two beads together. Then I think I would prefer a wire guardian. But because I have some distinct end pieces here, I'm going to use these little cymbals. These are actually made for super duos, but I found that they worked really well with this particular project. Okay, so you see I just put it through the hole. I leave the big hole to attach stuff to later, and then I'm going to come down through here, and I'm just going to be working through the piece. We're going to be knotting off, and I need to get myself back over to the other side. So I need to work within, I need to work within the right angle weave pattern in order to do that. And ultimately I do want to end up going through every one of these cymbals on the end at least twice. Okay, so let's come up through here, through this 11. Let's see if I can work my way back all the way over to the other side. And again, I'm leaving my working thread down here just in case I need it. Okay, so I'm going to come up through this 8. Just the 8. And then down through this 11. And then out through this 8 that's on the end. Okay, and this is where I want to be. Okay, so I've got the one cymbal on over here, this one, and I'm going to add 2 more. So I'm going to add them one at a time. So I put on one. I'm going to pass through the 11 that's right here. And then I'm going to pick up one, and I'm going to pass between the 2 11s and through the other cymbal that I added to the other end. Okay, see how those are on there. Real good. Now, to come back up, I think I'll just drop back down. Let's see. Okay, so see, I'm going to drop back down. I'm going to try and come back across over to this other side, come through again, and then I can start knotting off. Okay, so that's how you do the end. Very simple. This doesn't have to be overcomplicated. If you are a beginner, you know, as I said before you started this, you should already know how to knot off within the piece. But just to remind you again, we always want to stay in keeping with the pattern so that we don't pull any beads out of shape. But this is basically it. I like using these because they have nice large circles on the end. I can then use some jump rings and then a clasp. And what this does is allows me later on, if the clasp kind of gets tarnished or starts looking old and worn, it gives me an opportunity. I can just open up the jump rings or replace the jump rings again and add a new clasp. So that's all we're going to do on the end here. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this project. Again, this is a very beginner project, but I thought it would be fun to have a modified right angle weave that was just a simple chain that you could practice with before you start doing sculptural elements. So thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed this, and please be sure to like and follow me on YouTube. And I have lots of kits available at beadmeastory.com in both seed beading and chainmail. So thank you.